Everyone repeat after me. I don't consent to searches.
I don't consent to searches.
Hi, I'm Tim Cavanaugh for ReasonTV. We're here with Steve Silverman, Executive Director of FlexYourRights.org. Steve, can you tell us a little bit about what FlexYourRights.org is?
Our mission is to educate people about how to assert their constitutional rights during police encounters. And the way we get this information out is through the website, but primarily through our Know Your Rights videos.
What are the products that you guys put out?
2 DVDs. Our first one was Busted, The Citizen's Guide to Surviving Police Encounters, released in 2003. That's sort of our countercultural favorite.
What you got there, Mark?
Wow, look at this. Smells fresh.
And our most recent one is 10 Rules for Dealing with Police.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Billy Murphy, and we're going to talk about how to deal with the police.
That was released March of 2003, or rather, my mistake, 2010.
Okay.
One of the things that's
Have you been taking any drugs before this interview?
I drank some caffeine, so a little jittery. But thanks for asking. How about you?
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
Very good.
When you're saying no to the police, even if you're doing so civilly, but when you pull the tricks out and you say, I don't consent to a search, am I free to go or am I being detained, which has a lot. Actually, you want to talk about that a little bit.
I would argue that asserting your constitutional rights is not a trick in any way. What the police officers do is a trick, where one of the important things to appreciate is that police officers are legally allowed to lie to you and say things like, we're just searching for bombs, we're not looking for anything else. That's generally a lie, and police are legally allowed to lie.
We've had some problems with gangs moving guns down this highway. You're not packing any Tech 9s, are you?
No, sir.
I didn't think so. So you don't mind if I take a look, do you?
Just to clarify on that, if the cop says we're looking for bombs and you say, okay, well go ahead and search, then they find pot, you don't have any protection then, right? Because you've consented to the search and it's, you don't have any sort of Fourth Amendment
Absolutely.
security.
You have no expectation of privacy at that point if you consent. What we teach is that it is actually your choice. And when an officer asks, you don't mind if I take a look, they use a command presence, a command voice. It sounds a lot like a command.
You don't have any drugs in here?
No.
You don't mind if I take a look then?
What if I say no?
Daryl Borden, I want you to listen to me very closely. You have 2 choices. You can either make things better, or you can make things worse for yourself.
They're not so much trained to do that, but they learn to do that on the job pretty quickly. If you ask an officer, how do you get people to consent to these searches? They'll just tell you, well, everyone just, they agree to be searched. And it's sort of like, really? What's going on there? During traffic stops, which are about 50% of all police encounters that you're likely to see, police have to search 9 to 10 people in order to find evidence of illegal activity on one. And so you ask an officer, a good officer, you say, like, why would you search so many people in order to find illegal activity on one, but humiliate everybody else to the search? Say, well, people are willingly cooperating.
I'm sure you know there's been some gang-related shootings in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Well, we're trying to do something to get the guns off the streets, and we're asking folks to help out.
Of course. How can I help?
Well, if you don't mind, we'll take a quick look around to make sure there's no guns in your home you might not know about.
There are no guns in here. Go ahead.
I don't know if that is so much a really like active, willing compliance, but sort of like an ancient groveling response in the face of authority.
That's what I was thinking about earlier. It's sort of a natural reaction on people, especially a wimpy epsilon male like myself. If the cop is saying, do you consent to a search? Of course, like I don't want to make him angry at me, and I want to look like I'm a good citizen, and maybe the cop will become my friend. Is it really an emotional barrier that you have to get people over?
It really takes a certain amount of training, in a sense. The videos are training videos. The main reasons that we started getting into videos, I actually used to like don a police officer cap and do like role-playing exercises and stuff like that, but the stuff just doesn't really stick unless you're able to actually either do role-playing or see people that you can relate to in these situations doing it wrong and then doing it correctly.
Are you detaining us, officer, or are we free to go now?
Mr. Borden, can I see your car keys, please?
Why?
Need to give your car a look to make sure you don't have anything you're not supposed to have. You don't have anything to hide, do you?
No, officer. I don't consent to any searches, sir.
We all know the man gets off on harsh and you're mellow, And is the right way to respond to that to say, up yours, baby, power to the people?
Well, no, but it is, of course, your choice how you
Always your
approach a
choice.
police encounter. It's always your choice. What we're trying to offer here are different options. Every day we're exposed to some really horrific cases of police misconduct, police abuse. You know, bloggers like Radley Balco, Carlos Miller just do an outstanding job of just chronicling these injustices, not only the individual injustices, but also the endemic lack of accountability that occurs after them. And so we've seen the police shooting the dog video, you know, the grandmother being tasered. What can happen from, you know, watching this every day? One of the unintended consequences, it can actually really cloud the view of what a typical police encounter is likely to look like. And so if you're someone who exposes yourself to these horrors, you know, every day, you know, online, it can lead to someone really deciding to blow up at the point of a police encounter, which is absolutely the worst time to do that. And in fact, when we released 10 Rules for Dealing with Police, I thought the most articulate criticism that we got specifically focused on what we created as rule number 1, which is always be calm and cool at the point of a police encounter. We were sort of accused of seeming to be kowtowing to police. Even worse than that, some folks suggested that we essentially were blaming the victim.
Hold up, are you saying that he deserved to get treated like that?
No, what I'm saying is a police encounter is absolutely the worst time and place to vent your frustrations about police. Getting stopped by police is always frustrating and scary, but you could have played it much smarter by being calm and cool.
What's the difference between blaming the victim and treating the person who is subjected to the police encounter as an active agent who has some effect on the outcome of the encounter?
That really gets to the heart of what our message is. The decisions that you make can have a massive impact on the course of that encounter and the ultimate outcomes of that encounter, be it whether you could prevent a search from happening in the first place or simply driving away, or if you are the victim of police misconduct despite being calm and actively asserting your constitutional rights, you will be in a far superior position in a legal sense if you choose to pursue a police misconduct complaint. If you were calm during the course of that encounter rather than having a police video showing you screaming at the top of your head, you're likely to create much better outcomes for yourself at the point of that encounter. And so that's why we really, really press the idea of always be calm and cool.
Although it's always your choice how you want to behave with a cop, the smart move is always to say, I do not consent to a search.
The Fourth Amendment, the Bill of Rights, is not just some ball and chain around a policeman's ankle to keep them from finding the bad guys. The Bill of Rights is actually, I would argue, a template for good policing. It requires officers to actually have evidence to search someone so they're not wasting their time spreading large nets, using crude techniques like racial profiling to go into one single area and search everyone. And so for the person who has nothing to hide, I think an officer should feel a sense of embarrassment asking someone to consent to a search when they otherwise have no actual probable cause to search someone. A citizen, I think, should be offended at their request and should not let the police officer trick them into thinking that in any way they're helping law enforcement. If you have nothing to hide, you in no way are helping law enforcement do their job. So it's important to test whether or not that officer is going to respect your constitutional rights. And if you refuse and they search you, you ought to file a police misconduct report too and take that as far as you legally can.